I've come up with a plan to deal with the cost of living crisis.
And it somehow involves a lot of yarn?
Yeah, I'm hoping to have this finished by December using my newfound focus thanks to ADHD meds.
Are you knitting gloves?
No.
Scarves?
Nope.
Socks? Blankets?
9.
What then?
I'm knitting a guillotine, and with it, I shall deal with all the billionaires. It's greed that this world really can't afford.
That's ridiculous. It'll never work. You'd be better off knitting some gallows.
Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale, and welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast where the two queer trans women have a bit of a catch-up about the media we have consumed in the week. Some of it together, some of it separately, and then we come back and we talk about it, and we try and make each other have a little giggle and have a little... Yeah. We do a thing together.
We do a thing together.
Yeah.
We who spend a lot of time in the same house and so little time together.
I mean, we spend a lot of time working in different rooms and then being in the same room and doing sort of parallel but separate activities. Yeah. This is somewhat the life we live, and it works for us.
It does.
So what have you been playing this week?
Oh, playing.
That's usually where we start.
That is where we start playing. I'm just trying to think about what I've played. We played some more Everdell.
We did. We played another one of the expansions from our big box of infinite fucking expansions.
We still haven't finished them, but we have finished all the big ones now.
Yeah, we've just got a bunch of little ones.
So this week we did the Spirecrest expansion, which includes Explorer Bunnies.
Yeah.
We sent little bunnies on exploration, so we've talked about this a few times now, I think every week for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, Everdell's a worker placement game about cute, adorable animals.
Anti-blow building.
Yeah, and we've been playing expansions.
Yeah. So this expansion, you have a separate bit at the bottom of the board that clips on like a big puzzle piece.
That you do.
And it has like a bunch of paths. So you start at the beginning of the path. There are a bunch of little map pieces, and you're basically going along exploring different areas along this path, and depending on which bits you choose to explore when you prepare for the next round, you have a chance of earning extra points at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So if you have certain resources left over, for example, it might be like, get rid of 2 cards, and this is worth 2 points.
Yeah.
And as you progress to the next season, you go through another little area, and there will be another map to add to your thing. Eventually, you will have 3 map pieces.
Yep.
And you will basically then the game, if you can afford all of the things, you can get all of the things. If you can't afford any one of those in the chain, you can't do any of the things that come after it.
Yeah.
But it's a good way of earning extra points. It's a fun extra thing in there. I really enjoyed that aspect of this. That was good. Another aspect of this is that each season comes with its own weather.
Yes, it does.
And as far as I can tell, we got the worst weather from like every possible season.
Yeah, we definitely we had to make some pretty drastic like swerves in our strategy.
Yes.
Whenever one of them was revealed.
Yeah. So I think the first season we couldn't use certain areas at all, I think it was. So it was like, well, we're really struggling to get the resources we need to get any kind of engine going.
Yeah.
And then the summer season, I think, we had a tornado, at which point we weren't able to draw any or play any cards from the meadow, which is a set of 8 cards that sits in the middle of the board that anyone can purchase from, like an extra open hand that anyone can buy from.
Yes.
And it's usually really convenient, and especially convenient in that particular season, because you've got your engine a bit up and going, and you can only hold 8 cards in your hand, so having an extra 8 cards out on the board that anyone can purchase from, that's sort of constantly rotating as people pick stuff up, is usually just a great benefit.
Yes.
But we did not have any access to that.
Well, see, you were hammered a bit harder than I was by this, because you went into all of the new seasons earlier than I did, slightly, just by like one turn.
Yes.
But it meant that whenever a new weather happened, you had to find out what the new weather was once you were already committed to it.
Yep.
Whereas I was generally seeing what the new weather was and its new complication and going, right, I have one last action or one or two actions I can squeeze out to try and do whatever thing it is I need to before I can't do that thing for a while.
I'll be fair. Like, I was struggling in my main problem throughout the entire game was I had a handful of critters, but I didn't really want to spend the time just putting down critters, especially because a lot of the time you can, by building buildings, you can then get a free critter, so free resources. So from that point of view, I was like, I'm loath to put these down, but also I don't want to necessarily get rid of them. So I was caught in a bit of a loop there, and I just wasn't getting any buildings at all. And then obviously there was a whole period where we just couldn't buy buildings from the meadow, which was a bit of a pain in the arse there as well. So the weather, I think, more than anything else in that whole expansion, really made it hard to plan for anything or get anything sort of really satisfactory going.
It's the antithesis, but equally impactful as the expansion with the trains. What I don't remember what that one's called.
New Leaf.
Whereas New Leaf is very much all about giving you the ability to course correct and have extra options and like really like tweak and fine tune your build. This is its antithesis. This is we're going to throw wrenches in your way and you are going to have fewer tools.
Yep.
And both of them feel like they similarly like really change the structure of how you have to play.
Yeah.
But in very different directions.
Oh, yes.
They're very nice counters to each other.
Yes. Oh, the last thing we didn't mention, as you get to the end of each season and you prepare for season, you draw a card from the region you're in. Oh, you draw 3 cards and you can choose to buy them. The one on the left is free, then the next one is discard a card or pay a resource, and the next one is discard 2 cards or pay 2 resources. And there's some interesting stuff in there. I got a little foraging hedgehog power, which let me... I could go in and anytime I got berries, I could draw a card.
Yes! Which was so good with all of the things in your little expedition that required having a bunch of cards to discard at the end.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like that was ever going to be a problem, and I kind of made that my focus of, okay, I'll get things that rely on me discarding cards rather than discarding resources. So I think I did a pretty good job with that. But yeah, the other thing we found is the large animals. We've seen the large animal
I mean,
pieces.
you found the large animals.
Okay, I did find 2 in one drawer.
No, you found no large animals.
You found no large
but I got to
animals.
see your large animals, and then I
that's-
did put a snail on a moose.
Sometimes you have to put a snail on a moose. And we joked about the fact that even though the moose was just doing his little plod, that the snail was like, no, it's too fast, no. I was playing the mice, the little white mice, and I got a white wolf, and I rode my little white wolf around the board, which meant that I could go in any place that had...
even if there was already someone there.
Yeah, so anything that had, like, you can't usually put multiple people here. I was like, but I can.
Yeah, you can go wherever you want without limitation. You could go places you'd already been. It was definitely a nice flexibility tool.
It was lovely. The other one that I had the option of getting was the vulture.
Oh,
which
yes.
I had an option of basically taking that unit to the discard pile, drawing through 3 cards, and then anytime anyone was discarding cards onto the discard pile, I could pick them up, look through them, and have as many of them as I wanted. Which seemed kind of cool.
Yeah, those have really cool abilities, and I really hope that I get to play with one.
I hope so too.
I would like to.
There's
like
like
to try
8
one.
more creatures to find in that deck. I'm curious how that do. I don't know how modular you could make this particular expansion. A lot of them have talked about you can use this, you can use that. Like with New Leaf, it says you don't have to use the station board if you want. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You could just have like the ticket, which gives you the option to move a thing around, or just the seal.
I don't see why a lot of these couldn't combine in theory. I could see how having just the ticket from the train expansion as a way to somewhat offset the difficulty of the weather could be an interesting way of pairing.
Yeah.
There are some combinations that I think could be interesting. Yeah.
Again, Everdell is a beautiful, wonderful, deeper than you might expect first looking at it game. And I'm still really enjoying it, and I'm glad we have that big, ridiculous version.
It's a very big box.
It's a very big box, and I do have to move it every time we want to play it. And setup and teardown does tend to be quite long when you've got that many expansions in a box.
Yes, it's a lot of sorting.
Yes. Lifting trays out and going, okay, we don't need anything from this tray, but I do need, like, most of the stuff from here.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch from here. But yeah, it is a delightful little game with it's gritty. I think this is our Wingspan. We have those friends who just constantly play Wingspan, and
It might be.
it's something about engine build, like a good gritty engine builder.
I do like a good engine builder.
I do
You know
too.
me.
But so often with engine builders, I worry that we've just got to the end of the game, and that's it. Oh no, we run out of game. Mate, your engine. You know you were just enjoying your engine. That's all gone now. Bye.
Engine, no.
What have you played?
What have I played? I've been playing a bunch of things this week.
Yeah.
I've been playing a bunch more God of War. I've not seen the credits roll, but I'm right near the end.
Dad of Boy 2.
Dad of Boy 2, God of War Ragnarok. The game will be out by the time in parts of the world or everywhere by the time that people hear this, I think. So I can talk a bit more openly. I'm still going to try and stay relatively spoiler free. I really like God of War Ragnarok, and largely I think what that comes down to is that while its opening, I'm going to say 4 hours, is very, here is more 2018 God of War, the more it expands beyond that, the more that it becomes clear that this is a story that wants to expand God of War beyond just Kratos. Mm-hmm. And I know that to a certain degree we had that with Kratos travelling with Atreus in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
This really does a lot to open up mechanically and narratively that there is room for other stories as part of this world, and makes a really good case for we know how to do things other than the God of War combat from 2018's God of War, and big angry man has to go on a big angry quest.
Yeah.
And the moments where this starts being brave enough to be its own thing and to try new things really benefit it. Because God of War 2018, as fantastic a game as I think it is mechanically it's very one note. And I say that as someone who absolutely loves it. It is a game that is very satisfying while being very much the same throughout. And that makes sense because it is largely the story of one walk up a very big mountain. This does a lot more with we are telling a bunch of different intertwining stories that are all part of one big story.
I've not played 18, but I've felt that this has been narratively interesting from what I've seen.
Yeah, it's had a lot of, ooh, is that where we're going? And even when some of its turns have been, predictable before they arrive, I've still...
Especially if you know anything about Norse mythology.
Yeah, but even without that, it's yeah, sure, I might see a thing coming. It'll get signposted. I'll go, I bet this is what they're going to do with it, and then they do, and I lose my shit, going, yeah, you did the thing, and I'm so excited you did the thing. I don't care that I predicted it. It's such a cool thing, and it's very coolly executed. It's a lot of moments like that. The side quest content's really, really nicely fleshed out. I really like that a lot of the side quests have pretty large amounts of voice-acted dialogue spread throughout them. So the side, you know how with some games you go do side quest content and there's a noticeable drop-off in the budget spent, and it's I am going and doing, there's a feeling of filler content.
This was just a programmer who had some time.
Yes.
Rather than we put a bunch of people on this and it's fully voice acted.
We got the junior
cinematics.
Yeah, we got the junior programmer to design some stuff for you to do, but we're not putting any money into having it feel like it's as important as the main story.
Yeah, so it's not voice, no cinematics.
This very much goes against that. All of the side content if you didn't know it was a side quest, you could walk in on someone playing it and go, oh yeah, this is probably a main story progression quest, right? That degree of like original assets, original voice stuff, often like creative new puzzles that are exclusive, like ideas that are exclusive to side quests. Also, there is such a density of side content to go do in this. It's I feel like I am constantly stumbling into really cool side stories that are all pretty lengthy and very interesting.
As long as it's interesting and not like filler.
No, it's...
Or killer, no filler.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I played a game that made its side content feel this main content worthy. But yeah, I don't want to get too spoilery for obvious reasons, but there is more than just angry Kratos hits stuff while a boy is there. And expanding beyond that really gives a lot of room for this story to be a lot more interesting than I somewhat feared it might be. God of War Ragnarok's really fucking good.
And the dwarves are funny.
The dwarves are funny. They're funny until there's at least one thing that made me quite sad, and I'm like, oh, I love you. I hope you're okay. Oh,
But they have good dialogue.
They do have good
And they're
dialogue.
kind of snarky to Kratos, who is massive compared
Yes,
to them.
you've got Sindri, I think his name is, who like I'm pretty sure he's basically played as what if a dwarf had OCD,
Right.
and then you've got Brock, who is blue and angry, and he feels like he'd be arguing about the proper way to make a brew on a builder's site.
Right, yeah.
And I love them both. They're great. They're good. There's a squirrel that's voiced by ProZD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he voices a squirrel.
Someone show.
Yeah. I always forget his name. I'm like, I remember his handle. He voices a squirrel.
It's, what is it, Ratoska?
Yes, the squirrel of Norseness that's on the world
Protects
tree.
the Yggdrasil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really good. If you like 2018 God of War, go play this. It's great.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you play?
We played some block by block.
We did.
We played some more block by block.
We talked about this before. It's that game about taking the streets, pushing back the cops, retaking
the Resurrection game.
Yeah.
So this is block by block, 3rd edition, the Uprising one, the most recent and probably the final version. You build a city out of 25 tiled squares, and that's sort of randomly distributed. You're attempting to liberate certain areas based on what meetings you've been to and what people have decided basically needs to be the focus of your movement. And this is the first time we've played each playing a two-hander, basically. We each played 2 factions.
We did,
So this was technically a 4-player game. And my goodness, it was so much grittier than 2-faction. Like, I enjoyed 2-faction, I didn't have a problem with it, but going to 4... really changed that game a lot.
It is a much bigger time commitment, and you're going to need more focus and being on the ball with it.
More planning, more
It is less casual of a game at that scope, but if you know the sort of scope to go, do I have the energy for? It is a real sprawling, complicated, it gets real good and crunchy.
Oh yeah, like there was a lot of like planning and changing plans.
We were in a lot more places across. We spread out a lot more in a lot more little interwoven factions doing their own things.
Yeah, we had lots of places where it was like, okay, well, there's a bunch of yours and a bunch of mine from like both sides. So like all 4 factions in one area helping do different things. Like the neighbours are very good at building barricades, so they were like moving to the front and building barricades, and the prisoners were good at dealing with fighting and stuff. And that really helped with there. And then obviously we had the yellows who could just constantly build occupations.
I remember the word.
You did remember the word. They can
Took me a sec, but I got there.
They can constantly build occupations, which is good for keeping police morale down. And yeah, it was really just like a fun time, and felt crunchy and felt really rewarding, because there was a while where we were having real trouble with just one corner of the board. And I was like, if we can get this under control, it's going to be so much easier, because there is only one road that comes out of this tiny little corner of the map that has, like, the ability to spawn police vans in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, if we can deal with this, if we can finally push this squad back, we are going to be absolutely golden. And it was maybe 3 rounds of just hard fighting against the police, and every time we knocked a police van over, another one came back in exactly the same spot.
Yeah.
But, like, after that, it all, fell down pretty quickly.
It was a case of, because we cornered them, we had a lot to deal with in that corner, but
Yeah.
at least it was only one line we had to really, like, have the troops
Yep.
rallying on.
And also by virtue of the fact that we kept knocking the police vans out, that was lowering police morale, meaning that we weren't losing too much in the way of getting too many more reinforcements on side. And at one point we had so many police on the board, we couldn't add any more, even though like 6 or 7 cards told us we had to. It's like, we can't do that, they're already at full power. Why won't they? And that one bloody card we needed, that like they do little shift rotations and drop down to a maximum of 5 squads in any given district, and it never came up when we needed it.
Yeah,
we knocked out like huge numbers of police squads all across the city, and then literally the next card was, strategic police locations. Where were you 10 minutes ago?
Where were you
fucker?
when we had like 12 cops in one street?
Yeah, it's like, well, we built our little barricade that can hold back 3 cops at most, or a van. And yeah, they just kept coming. But we got to, by the end of it, there was no police vans, I think, on the board.
Yeah, I think so. We turned it around.
Yeah, and we, still had plenty of time left on the time track. And like, as I said at the time, I think we'd previously been to liberating maybe 5 areas of the city, and getting like 5 of the little cards that are hidden under there with little decisions about what you're going to do next. Are you going to stay here and enjoy the street party, or are you going to move on to the next place and put some graffiti up, or whatever the decision happens to be? Get more loot cards, get more graffiti up, and allowing you to do more mutual aid stuff. And this time I think we liberated 11 districts.
Yeah,
which was at like almost half of the board.
When usually like 4 or 5 would have been the top end, I think,
Yeah.
with two factions.
Yeah, so to go like that much of the city got liberated, and to see it all, because it's usually all black and white, and then when you liberate things, they get flipped over, and it's a more colourful side of the board based on like who the people of that district are supposed to be, and that was really nice to see the board like that colourful as it went on. It was good. And yeah, I am still really enjoying Block by Block. What about you? What have you played?
I've started playing through Sonic Frontiers, the new 3D Sonic game.
Yeah, that's the one with the random rails in the...
Yeah, the one that does look a little bit like you did just put like, hey, here's a 3D environment, put rails in it. Don't think about it, just put rails in it.
Are they fun?
Here's the thing. I have had a lot of fun with this objectively bad game. I wouldn't... Look, handheld is great. I wouldn't recommend the Switch version. The low resolution and low draw distance and high amounts of pop-in are actively really difficult for playing with in an open world, for exploring, and all the rails in the middle of nowhere make no sense, and the game is buggy, it's glitchy, it's kind of awkward to play. There are times where it's like there are difficulty spikes out of nowhere. It's really fun though, and I'm having fun with it in spite of the fact I'm having fun with it as a switch your brain off dopamine factory, in that it is an open world game that has zero pretenses of being anything other than a game. It is just, here is a big environment, there are lots and lots of things. Go, start running in a direction, you'll see a thing. Play around with the thing, we'll give you a reward, you'll feel cool. There's another thing like 6 feet away, go look at that. Now you're spinning on a big rail, doing a loop-de-loop. You did a big jump in the sky, hit a bouncy thing, now there's something else to do. It's just bombarding you with little tiny little things to do that give you a tiny little dopamine boost. And it's really good at that. And, like, when it's not bugging out, I really like the boss fight concepts. I think they're really interesting. I think they make good use of Sonic being able to run fast. I think that they are impressive in scope. They're just kind of buggy and janky and not great to play, but they're really fun. It is a really hard game to quantify in any meaningful way. The traditional 3D Sonic levels that can be found in there, they are all pretty short. I like the fact that they are short, they are objective-based, you have pretty clear objectives of what to do to get your little rewards, and like they're short enough that if you don't do all the rewards, all the objectives in one run-through, you can just restart, get the other ones you missed. It's a structure that I think works for it. Like, if you want to picture this game, the best way I can explain it is, what if you took Breath of the Wild, stripped it of a lot of the, like, consistency and theming that made it feel like a world people might actually live in. The shrines are classic Sonic levels.
Okay.
Korok seeds exist, but instead of being like, ooh, that ring of rocks is missing a rock, I bet if I find a rock and put it there, that something will happen. Instead, there's a big glowing hologram that's like, hey, there's something here that's out of place. Come over here and work out what to do. And they're similarly like, yeah, look at the thing, something's wrong, work out what to do sort of puzzles. But they're all just, like, marked with holograms to make them completely unmissable.
Okay. No needing to find a mask to get half of them?
No. It's that plus Shadow of the Colossus boss fights, but with speed boosts so you can run up the legs.
Nice.
And occasionally it briefly becomes a Dragon Ball Z game. It's a lot of things. It's a game that's a lot of things at once, and none of them in isolation is it very good at. But you put them all together in a high enough density and go, hey, just run around and make sounds go off and pick up collectibles and have rings ding.
It make dopamine do.
It do make dopamine do.
Nice.
And I'm gonna play more of it despite it being kind of bad. I am particularly really enjoying the dialogue, which is a lot of, like, a character being very angsty about, like, oh, our world, it's disintegrating from the cyber glitching technology or whatever. And Sonic just being like, I don't know what any of that means. See you later. Just running off with it. Like, he is oblivious to everything that's happening, and it's so tonally dissonant. I love it. Like, at one point someone was like, we need to understand, what is it that makes you different, Sonic, that you can go in and out of these worlds and not get lost? And Sonic's like, I don't know. I'm probably just really cool. Off he runs. Like, legitimately, he's just like, I'm probably just that awesome. Bye.
That sounds like Sonic.
Rather than helping them work out this very important thing that's special, he's just like, I'm a cool dude. Off we go.
Bye.
And it's so bad it's kind of looped back around. And I'm having fun. I wouldn't recommend the game, but I'm having fun with it.
Okay.
And there are going to be people out there for whom this is going to be
their first Sonic the Hedgehog game.
There are people for whom, if you pick this up, you will have a great time with this terrible game.
Yep.
I'm not going to say it's a good game, because I don't think most people would agree.
Right.
I don't think most people would think would have fun with it. But for some of you, it's a real good dopamine factory.
Yay!
Yeah. What about you?
I finished building that Lego Optimus Prime.
How are you feeling now it's built?
It's alright.
It is built.
It is built. I have finished it. I almost immediately put it on a top shelf that is almost impossible to reach and therefore will not be fiddled with. There are two reasons for this. One, it's very big and I don't have a lot of space left because it's already full of Transformers.
Yeah.
And two, it's quite fragile.
Yeah.
Like the basically when it does the twisty hips to turn the legs around and like lay it down into robot mode, that whole hip section just isn't tight enough. It doesn't hold in place. More often than not, the actual bricks have pushed themselves apart, and I'm just pivoting on the little axle that's down the middle of that section.
Yeah.
If you're not careful with how you hold it, it just falls apart in various ways. And Lego being Lego, there are bits that just will pop off as soon as that happens. There's a whole issue with the feet whereby he just has a bit of a lean on him, And really the only thing holding him in place is the red bits on his feet, on the tops of his feet.
Yeah.
That are basically only held on one side by a single pip each. And as a result of that, if he leans too hard or you transform him a lot, by a lot I mean twice, you'll very often find those bits are just popping off constantly.
Yeah.
Or if you've not stood him just correctly, or not put those given those a good push down after you've transformed him, those will just go flying off and he'll collapse forward.
It's almost like being made of Lego and a Transformer doesn't make... There are compromises on both aspects that have to be made.
Yeah, the transformation is it's cool that it does it, but then you get it into truck mode and it's there are huge gaps, around the shoulders. There are a few other gaps in places that just don't look quite right. But it is a cool idea. I'm glad they designed it, and I'm glad they finally did this. I would be way happier with a Lego Soundwave, because Soundwave is my favourite part. But I'm glad I had fun building it on stream, and I'm glad I can claim it as a work expense. Because, yeah, I don't know how much else I'm going to get out of it apart from going, yes, it's very cool and it's up there.
That's a very nice thing that I am not going to transform very often.
I'm not going to touch very often, but I am glad I get to look at it occasionally.
You get to go, yeah, look at it,
yeah. I would say, just like the Ronson real robot or whatever the fuck it was, the Optimus Prime self-transforming robot. It is completely unnecessary, but kind of fun.
I mean,
but you probably get more fun out of that than you would out of the self-transforming Optimus Prime.
Yeah, you at least get to transform this one yourself.
I was thinking more the fact that I got 6 hours of building it on stream.
Yeah.
As opposed to the, I did the thing for about an hour or so, and now I can't really trust myself to play with it at any point. Yay! What about you? What have you played with?
I finished playing through New Tales from the Borderlands.
New Tales from the Borderlands?
I have never... I can't think of any game where I have ever had as drastic an experience as I have with New Tales from the Borderlands, of going back and forth repeatedly on whether it's an amazing or terrible game. Oh. And I think where I've landed is it is a game that the majority of it is really wonderful, really fantastic, really solid. More often than not, I was loving it. And it's really let down by a couple of moments that, make it such a letdown that, it really, really tempers my willingness to recommend it to people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go into too much depth, but episode 2 is just incredibly, one-note written. It feels really lazy and phoned in.
Yeah, I remember you saying at the time you went...
Yeah, and it picks back up, and episodes 3 and 4 are fantastic. Episode 5, the final one, there's a couple of places where there is one MacGuffin in this series of episodes that has very clear powers and very clear utility that is suddenly not able to do the thing when it comes to making sure that an openly queer character is okay, and that kind of fucking pissed me off, because bad things happening to people sometimes, whatever, but when there is a literal MacGuffin that you have to just hand wave away not working and never explain, I'm going to be really annoyed by that.
Yeah, I bubbled into your stream after finishing the edit on this week's accessibility.
Yeah.
Just as that had happened.
And I was sat there going, this is bullshit. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that's kind of bullshit, there are 3 main characters in this, and I looked up a walkthrough after the fact, because apparently this game has, good endings, neutral endings, bad endings,
right,
based on your relationship between your characters.
Okay.
I got the stuff that should have got me the neutral ending, and I'd have been fine with that. All the characters survive, but, maybe they don't end up, doing things together after the story, but they all do survive.
Right.
So, despite getting what the things needed for the neutral ending.
Right.
I got the bad ending. Despite the fact I shouldn't have got it. There was clearly some kind of bug went on and I was incorrectly given the bad ending. And you know what that does? There is a moment where, like, all three of our characters are in mortal danger of death, and the screen fades to black, and with no explanation of how some of them lived and some of them died, some of them are alive and one of them is dead and is buried. And there is no explanation why that one died and
That
why...
sounds really half-assed.
Yeah. I had an ending where one of my three characters died off screen during a fade out. I didn't get an explanation of how the other two survived. Didn't get an explanation why that one died. It's just we're all gonna die. Okay, we two are fine. That one's dead. And like it was so out of nowhere. I was so blindsided. And like even if I'd looked up that walkthrough, it's like, okay. Because it's not even like...
Have you looked up that ending? Is that like a glitch that maybe because the bug you had with the wrong ending thing?
Oh, no, that's how it's meant to happen.
It's just supposed to...
Yeah, it's meant to happen like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did bad. You get an unsatisfactory ending.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It also really frustrates me, because whether you get the good, neutral, or bad ending is nothing to do with your actual granular choices you made through this choose-your-own-adventure. Mm-hmm. It is... We have arbitrarily rated your choices as increasing or decreasing friendship between characters. Is friendship in certain ranges. Like, it's not like like that character that died in the bad ending didn't die because they did something that put them at risk or some choice earlier on. No, it's like, a number was low, so they died off screen in a fade-out transition. And, like, I really wish that, like, these complaints weren't the case, because 90% of the time was really fucking loving this. It's a game that has so many really endearing, great moments that I don't want to recommend. And I walked away with a really kind of mixed, sour feeling about, so... That's New Tales from the Borderlands. What about you? What have you played?
That's it, really.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's about it for what I've played as well.
Well then.
Time for this.
Hello, yes, come in. Welcome to evening classes for anxious people with histories of trauma on what to do when a stranger gives you a genuine compliment. Now, just going to ask around the room, does anyone... Janice, yeah, what would you do, for example, what do you think you should do in the event that someone they said, I really like your shows?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is the answer to hide under a blanket?
No, it's not to hide under a blanket. Anyone else? Susan?
Is it to collapse like a marionette with its strings cut and make mumbled apologies for your existence?
I mean, thank you for your contribution, but that's not quite what we're looking for now. Generally speaking, you don't have to run away, you don't have to hide or anything. Just smile and say thank you. Don't even have to necessarily think of a compliment back. It's not a reciprocal thing, it doesn't have to be. You just appreciate the nice thing happening to you and maybe enjoy just a little bit of dopamine.
But what if they think I'm really, really conceited or something?
It's okay. Now, if you just pair up, maybe, and if there's anyone left over, obviously you can pair up with me, and just practice saying a nice thing about the other person, and then just remember a smile and a thank you.
You've got good hair.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, baby steps, everybody, baby steps. Num num. Num num. Captain, they're coming around for another pass.
Oh, quick! I'm trying. I'm helping. Yeah.
Execute attack pattern Martin 6.
Oh, goodness. Oh, I think we're pushing them back. Set shields to maximum.
It was a ruse.
Oh no! Double back.
They've double fainted. Sir, I think we're absolutely going to be destroyed if those multi-phasic quantron torpedoes do an attack on us. They're firing all batteries of the quantron torpedoes. Oh no, Captain, we must do something. Captain, if I may make a suggestion.
Yes.
Alexa, play some Chill Out. They've gone. Captain, they've gone off of our scanners.
Oh goodness.
How the hell did that work? Well, Captain, I simply changed the dramatic music to something more chill, implying that the battle was over, and they just drifted away.
Oh, the battle over jingle.
Exactly.
Ah.
So, what have you put in your eyes?
I put so much Pokemon stuff in my eyes.
I see.
Yeah,
I've heard. You've told me.
I mean, of varying degrees. We'll start with like we'll start on some of the more official end, and then like loosely talk about some of the other stuff. Today, as of recording, we got what is probably going to be the final like big trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet before they release, because they release in like 10 days, and most of this video that was put up, I thought was going to be completely nothing and not interesting at all, because
one of those, we're on a little Poke Watch thing, we're in a hide.
No, not even that. So we've known for a while that Ed Sheeran has made a song for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It seemed like this was just going to be a music video for Ed Sheeran's song, using some, like, generic gameplay footage. But toward the end, we got something really interesting that had been talked about, like, 4 months ago in leaks. And I really thought they weren't going to talk about it at all before release and, like, leave it to be a surprise in the game, but they did talk about it now, which was, they haven't officially been called this, but the term in the leak community for them has been Paradox Pokemon,
right,
which is ancient past or distant future versions of Pokemon we know today.
Right.
One of them that was leaked ages ago has been referred to as Vampire Jigglypuff.
Right.
Is Jigglypuff with little vampire fangs? His little ancient past, little primal Jigglypuff.
Bela Lugosi Jigglypuff.
Yeah. But the ones they showed off today were Donphan, which was a Generation 2 Pokemon. They showed a sort of like beastly, ancient, almost like dinosaur-esque form, and a like cybernetic, computery future form of Donphan. And there's gonna be little quests you've got to go on to find these interesting Pokemon. And their designs, I think, look really cool, and I'm very excited that they have talked about this thing now, because it's a really neat idea of like trying to take Pokemon that people have sentimental attachment to already and going, what if we gave you a new, cool, weird little variant of them?
Like, I mean, we've had the Alolan version, so it's nice to see even more variants.
So we've had like regional forms of Pokemon. So we've had like Paldean, Alolan, stuff like that. We've had ones from different places, and this is basically that same formula. But what if the place they're from is the past or future? But yeah, I was really excited to see that.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm going to say this spoiler lightly. The day we record this, a bunch of images have been leaking from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And
they look fairly official as well.
Oh yeah, no, like these. There is no denying at this point that these are these. I've covered enough leaked stuff in my time to have a pretty good radar for like, yeah, no, you ain't faking this one. And like leaks from months ago and the leaks today have all like lined up. Everything has been very like, yeah, okay, we see. Some of these new Pokemon are adorable.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to talk about any specific ones for anyone who doesn't want to know
around
spoilers.
friends.
Yeah, there's a lot of just like, that is a little or big round friend I would like to hug. There's a lot of round friends.
Yeah.
And one Pokemon with a name that I think is great. That one that is 4 letters that mean something with the letter I at the end of it. I'm like, that's clever.
I gotcha.
I've seen the starter evolutions all to varying lesser or greater degrees, and I want to see a slightly better picture, but like I'm feeling pretty confident about my choice to pick Duck Starter. I'm excited for Duck Starter.
I haven't seen any of the extra duck stuff. You haven't shown me any of that. I did like the more bits of cat I saw. More brass cat.
The ducks we only have little thumbnails for, but we got.
Okay.
I want to see new images, but is a pirate Captain Duck. It kind of looks like. But yeah, I'm very excited for Pokemon. I'm just fully down the rabbit hole on Pokemon right now because it's that time of year. There's a Pokemon less than 2 weeks away, and I'm ready to lose my life to this. Yeah, Pokemon. I may or may not have been sat here during recording, occasionally just going, "Ooh, new image." I'm like keeping an eye on all the images that are
all
leaking.
the new pokes.
I want to see Pokemon. That one's so happy.
It's a happy little friend.
It's a happy little friend. Oh, I'm excited for people to see these happy little friends. What about you? What you put in your eyes?
What have I put in my eyes? Well, we watched a film together, And after we watched that film, we both sat there and went, well, we sure did watch that.
Between us, we suggested we should watch it, and I was
Yes.
like, yeah, this is going to be like a really like light, low brain, very chill film, and it was good but intense. I wasn't
like almost immediately.
I set my expectations wrong for it. Is the thing?
Yes. I mean, I hadn't seen the Funny or Die skit that it was based on.
Neither had I.
So the film is Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
Yeah.
Which I had seen trailers for.
Yeah.
Whenever we last went to the cinema, I think we
Yes.
saw trailers for. I was like, this looks
Yeah,
interesting.
a parody of a music biopic.
Not necessarily even a music biopic. Actually, sorry, you are entirely correct.
Yeah,
So this came about because somebody had watched the Notorious B.I.G. biopic, and apparently there was a bunch of untruths in that. And they went, what if we just did a skit about someone who has never had any weird music industry drama and made that? And that was the skit. And then they were like, let's make this an hour and 47-minute film.
It's got the vibe of, what if we tried to invent like an 8 Mile story for young Weird Al Yankovic? It's that kind of like, what if we invented a story of you having to go through the ringer that is definitely not accurate?
Yeah. It goes some places,
It goes some places. I was emotionally invested. Like, I was expecting this to be a lot more like, ha ha ha, how silly. And instead I was like, I know this isn't real, but like, little Weird Al, I hope you get to escape from this oppressive society you're living in and live your accordion dreams.
Yeah, like, I was enjoying all the accordion stuff, like the accordion, the polka party.
Oh, the polka party.
I am so glad we got some good polka in here.
Yeah, yeah. Dad, you want me to work in the nondescript factory where you won't tell me what we make? I want to live my polka dreams of writing lyrics to songs that don't exist.
Yeah, a content warning for just angry parent.
Yeah, angry, abusive, controlling parents.
Yeah, because there is a scene quite early on involving the dad that is just comes out of fucking nowhere.
I mean, that if we're thinking of the same one, it's not directed at the child. It's not directed at anyone in the family.
But, like, just the fact that it happens in the house.
Yes, it is. Hey, child, witness a hell of a fucking scene involving your father. That, like, even if it didn't directly impact him, is like, okay, that is the scene setting for why he's afraid to follow his dreams. It's a lot. That whole scene is a lot. It doesn't fuck about.
It doesn't. For a film that is ostensibly a comedy.
It does not pull its punches, and it has has its funny moments, and it has like we are being a very serious, dramatic biopic moment.
Yes.
The two of them, sometimes they mesh, and sometimes they are placed next to each other, and you just have to go from one to the other.
And not in a fun juxtaposition, in a, oh my god, I just watched something kind of horrifying. Oh, okay, now we're back to just silly stuff.
It's weirdly, it feels like the inverse of something like Jordan Peele's horror films, in that it is very much like deliberately placing comedy and horror and like dramatic, I'm feeling tense anxiety, like very close together, and like they both work on like a lot of the same principles, but like it's playing on the fact that they're so jarring placed back to back.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, but like go in knowing it's heavy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously every biopic that ever gets really talked about has its deliberately over dramatic bits, people having their little breakdown and prima donna moments, and this does doesn't fail to do that.
Yeah.
In the weirdest possible way.
But like, yeah, don't expect every one of those to be a joke about those. Sometimes it will just be one of those.
Sometimes we're just saying the thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're being silly about it. There is a joke in there that runs something along the lines of, basically the punchline is 6 hours. I'm not really spoiling anything by telling you that, because you don't know the setup. But that was just like, okay, you have added some levity to this otherwise quite intense moment.
Yeah. It is a good film. I would recommend, as long as you set your expectations correctly.
Yep, and as Al said, if you're outside the US and you don't have watch it, I'm sure you have a torrent of questions regarding how
Yeah.
you might watch it outside of there,
Yeah.
and glean from that what you will.
Yeah, or a VPN, a very particular network of people you could ask about how to do it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Al.
Thanks, Al, from the man who brought you Don't Download This Song.
Yeah.
Oh, movies are fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a movie. It sure happened. What have you watched? What have you been watching?
I'm about halfway through watching through a really interesting YouTube video that I wanted to talk about, and I'm probably going to finish watching tomorrow.
Okay.
From a YouTube channel called Wolfie VGC, who is a professional level tournament Pokemon player. He was the world champion back in 2016, I think. And the video was called "So I Entered the Pokemon World Championships," and it is a 45-minute long video about the last year or so of his life leading up to the 2022 World Championships of the Pokemon video game tournament, and sort of going through his attempt to come first at the World Championships. And it sort of follows through, like, in previous years when he's entered tournaments, to better or worse success, he has gone into every tournament he's gone into in the year aiming to win that tournament. And this year he tried to go in with a very different mindset, which was, can I win just the World Championships? I don't care if I come first in any other tournament throughout the year. I will use those as training opportunities, as experimentation, as steps that will help me along the way to the World Championships, rather than worrying about, like, okay, well, I'll use this team because it's the current meta that everyone's using, and I'll try that at every tournament. Going, don't care if I lose, I'm going to experiment, I'm going to do weird shit. And it's a really interesting video about, like, each tournament he entered and sort of the evolving approaches he took to his team across the various events, what worked, what didn't. It's a really interesting insight into, like, the competitive side of Pokemon.
Which Pokemon?
So Sword and Shield. But very specifically, like, it talks about the context of the fact that this was going to be the last time that Sword and Shield was the game of choice for the World Championships, because Scarlet and Violet are coming. They changed, like, which Pokemon are and are not permitted each year in the tournament circuit, and this year, because it was the final one of Sword and Shield, basically got rid of all the limitations, so, like, you could choose fucking anything, and, like, there was nothing to stop you bringing multiple legendaries in, stuff like that. But because this was the first year of that format rotation, there was a lot of, like, the opponents he was going up against weren't using all the same team because everyone was trying to work out what was viable.
Yeah.
Because suddenly they had access to so many more things, and having to work on, like, a team that could be prepared for lots of different situations rather than, this is the current meta, I either use the meta or I use a counter to the meta.
Yeah.
Lots of talking about, like, how many times throughout those tournaments throughout the year he would try a new team and, like, try changing the team around versus at what point does he go, I have to stick to a team and commit to it and, like, start using it at tournaments, like, with basically no changes so that I get really used to the team before the World Championships. Because, like, a big part of what he talked about is, like, yeah, I can go in and make changes that might make my team technically better in matchups, but if I don't know this team, like, you know, inside and out because I've like, been using it a lot.
Yeah.
So where I've made it up to in the video right now, he's done 3 tournaments, and he's got 1 more tournament before the World Championships, and he's currently going through, do I use the set, like, do I try 1 more set of tweaks to this team, or do I stick with the one that I had that isn't perfect, but I can then use this tournament to practice it on top of the last one where I used it and the World Championships and, like, have more experience? It's a really interesting video, and it's a good insight into the process of trying to play this game in a way that I often don't, but I'm fascinated by people who do. What about you? What have you watched?
We watched Lower Decks Season 3.
We did. We finished that this evening.
Yeah.
Lower Decks has gone from strength to strength, I think. It continues to get better and better.
Yeah, the last 2 seasons have been infinitely more enjoyable than the first one.
I didn't dislike the first one, but I think that seasons 2 and 3 are a lot stronger.
Oh, yeah.
They very much found their footing on telling interesting Star Trek stories.
Yeah.
that feel like more than just Star Trek set dressing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they did a lot of interesting stuff with it, and I really enjoyed everything with it so far.
There have been some really emotionally dramatic scenes. It's been really...
They've done a good job.
The world building they're creating for their little pocket of the Star Trek universe has been fascinating.
Yeah. And I look forward to more of that, and I'm enjoying the characters a lot more.
Yeah.
And, like, filling out some of the rest of the crew stuff.
Yeah.
Some of the rest of the world of Star Trek. Some little tiny bits that were, like, pickups from previous seasons that were just like, we're laying the seeds for something to happen later. Maybe something will happen that, maybe it won't. But I'm guessing since they did those things, that's gonna come up again.
Yeah.
Chekhov's com badge. I'm curious to see what they do with that. I'm really enjoying it again. I think the California class ship is a good little ship. What about you? Watched anything else?
I think that's it for me, really.
Well then.
Time for this.
Laura, got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you like sharing your views with the world?
I do. I've somewhat made it a centre of my life, in fact.
And resharing interesting news articles?
I do. I like sharing the things I've made and the things my friends have made and, like, sharing them to the people who follow my things.
And important news articles that you feel are important?
Yeah, it's important to know what's happening and to be able to tell people about it.
Do you like hearing, like, world news long before it's ever published on a major news site?
I mean, I wouldn't say like, but it feels important to do.
Try literally anywhere but Twitter.
Is this a specific place?
Well, we do. I mean, the official sponsor came from nottwitter.lol.net.
Okay.
And they brand themselves as literally just somewhere else to post instead.
Oh.
Our social media platform, not Twitter, clears that very low bar.
I mean, it technically isn't Twitter. That is honestly all I'm really looking for right now in a competing social media platform.
And to sign up, you have to say that you are not and will not be affiliated with Elon Musk.
Ooh, well. I mean, I'm always a fan of a website pulling the Anish Kapoor.
Sometimes you've got to pull the Anish Kapoor.
Yeah, right?
So, if you're interested in somewhere that isn't Twitter, that isn't collapsing on itself like a flan in a cupboard, come on over to nottwitter.lol.net or any other not Twitter-based social media platform. It's literally not Twitter! Woo!
It'll do.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, I've been following the video game news this week. I've been looking at what our competitors have been up to.
Right.
Something really caught my eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy that made the VR headsets back in the day, or maybe stole the idea from some other company, but that guy, the VR guy.
The guy we respect in the VR space, yeah.
Yeah. Well, turns out he's a big ol' anime fan.
Right.
And I'm going somewhere with this, trust me. He's a big old anime fan, specifically of an anime about people who put on virtual reality headsets, and then if they die in the game, they die for real. It, like, fries their brain or something.
Is that not how VR works?
I mean, apparently not. I've been reading the things, apparently they have not yet invented that tech. But he has
where does that whole, if you die in the game, you die in real life thing come from?
Well, I don't know, but he's working on it. He's made a VR headset that, like, you die in the game, literal explosives on your face. It blows literally blows up your brain.
Amazing.
And, like, look, it doesn't have to be losing a video game. It's just like some flashing lights or something when you do bad to make it work. So
we could just strap these to everyone in our office.
Exactly.
I like red alerts.
Yeah, here's what I'm thinking. We order a bunch and we basically go, hey, if we find a bug in your code, if we find a single bug, there's a bug in the game, you die for real.
You are a fucking genius.
I know.
So, what have you put in your ears?
I'm gonna be honest, it's another week where I have very little of interest to say here.
Is it McCurr?
It's been a lot of My Chemical Romance and Pokemon soundtracks.
Yay.
Again, it's all I've been listening to. Look, winter has arrived.
Yes.
It's gotten darker earlier.
Cozy.
Yep, and my brain has gone, the outside world does not exist, time to hyperfixate on the things you love. And, like, that's my equivalent of hibernation. It's just, I will hyperfixate until spring.
Yeah,
So, I've been listening to a lot of Pokemon soundtrack and My Chemical Romance, and that is it. That is all I listen to anymore. I'm in the winter time. No new, only variations on same.
Yay. I have listened to two King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard albums. The first one is called Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms and Lava. And the second one was called Changes. It's more good King Giz. That good psychedelic punk, psychedelic folk music, not punk.
I would listen to some psychedelic punk.
I have listened to psychedelic punk.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it's a bit more aggressive than others.
Yeah.
There's sometimes they have a bit of shouty to do, and sometimes it's a bit more chill and dreamy. But it is still that good sound that I am very much enjoying, and I'm like I think they've released, like, apart from the live albums, they've released a lot of live albums. I think they've released like 7 new albums this year.
They're one of those bands that just fucking throws music out into the world impressively.
Like 6 albums that I can see. One of those might be an EP, I don't know. But yeah, there is like one other one that I haven't listened to from this year yet that I need to add to my list. But yeah, I really enjoy that sound, and I'm glad that people are making new stuff, so that I can be like, yes, I listen to new music. Yes, it sounds like the music I've always listened to.
Yeah.
Or was listening to as a kid, but at least I'm not stuck listening. I'm not like my parents who were listening to the same bands they were listening to as kids in their 60s.
I mean, look, generally I'm pretty good at listening to new music, but
yeah. You still listen to a lot of like rock and metal.
I listen to a lot of individual new songs, except when I'm doing hyperfixated and I have no space in my brain for music.
And it's My Chemical Romance's fault for not bringing out new music yet.
Give me new music!
Music!
Yeah! I just have to hyperfixate on this music.
Yay! That's good stuff. Have you listened to anything else?
No, it's literally just My Chemical Romance and Pokemon soundtracks.
I've also been listening to a bit more Welcome to Night Vale, starting to get back into a rhythm of listening to just the normal episodes after the audiobook. I think after the audiobook I needed a bit of a pause, because there was some feelings of burnout, I think, on it maybe.
Yeah.
Like, that audiobook's, 9 or 10 hours long, maybe more.
Yeah.
So I can understand how that was like a heavy intake on top of like everything else that I'd been listening to leading up to that.
Yeah.
And I remember really struggling with Night Vale after they changed the music the last time. And I have just hit that area now, so here we are. The new music happened, and for some reason I'm just like, no, you would do. Caught up on some Podquisition, because I realised I'd somehow got 3 episodes behind on that. Yeah. I need to know more about this tentacle shooter game.
Oh, Hot Tentacle Shooter?
Hot Tentacle Shooter.
Oh, are you listening to the episode where we did the news story about it, or the one where we've played it?
Both.
Oh, yeah, Hot Tentacle Shooter. It's not a bad game. I've played worse games that contained fewer tits. I don't know how better to sell it. I've played worse games that had fewer tits.
Are they fun, friendly tentacles, or are they? Oh no, bad tentacles, go away.
I mean, they're very like, oh no, I'm covered in tentacles. That kind of tentacles.
So like my attitude to be being covered in tentacles.
It's like, oh, I'm definitely need saving. Please, oh, hurry.
At that point, I'd just be disappointed someone had made me naked. Put the tentacles back on! Damn you! So I guess that's all they're listening to. Well then,
time for this.
Are you always running out of space for your cool shit? Don't worry, there's always room on these shelves. More Rubik's Cubes, more Gundam figures, your latest knickknack. And all in these multi-dimensional, non-Euclidean calyx shelving from IKEA. And thanks to being multi-dimensional, they automatically repel dust, meaning your shit never needs to be cleaned. Non-Euclidean calyx. It's the last word in storage.
Right. We've had November 5th, we've had Bonfire Night, and it means we've got almost a whole year to get planning for next year. So
Right.
I thought we'd convene the Bonfire Night marketing board and sort of come up with what we can do to really, really spread Bonfire Night into a lengthy period of unanticipatable chaos.
Right.
It's like we've expanded outside of the day at this point. Like what can we do to really, really increase the amount of startling we are responsible for?
Right, I mean, those forest fires went on for a very long time, and they were all good fire.
Well, exactly.
How about we throw some copper filings on there? That'll make it green.
Ooh, yes. How about this? We start selling fireworks. You know, that sort of way you sort of you light it once and it fires a bunch of them.
Yeah,
we do those, but we set it up to have random intervals of timing between each firing. So
right, yeah.
people who are nervous will hear an explosion and then a long gap. And then another one, very shortly after it, and then another one, and then a big gap again.
Right.
And they're like, oh, maybe they've stopped. Oh, there's another one.
Okay.
Just really set them on edge.
Okay, and it comes on a flatbed truck. You have to buy the truck as well with it, and it takes about a week to fully go off.
Exactly. I'm thinking daytime fireworks. Why should anxious people feel safe in the daytime?
Right, indeed, yeah.
Exactly. We should explosions for every time, not just nighttime.
Right. Okay. Well, one more big one. I think this is really going to seal it for us. I propose that we get a bunch of pregnant people and we spend all of November doing numerous gender reveal parties.
I think we've got November down locked. I think this is going to be wonderful.
If there's a planet left to stand on at the end of it, I'll eat my hat, my very singed hat.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Brochure Justice Warriors.
Brochure Justice Warriors.
Yeah.
All right, Larry.
All right, Larry. How you doing?
Oh, you know, not too bad, mate. You know, starting to get everything a bit more in order, really. You been up to much?
Oh, I've been watching everything going down with the midterm elections over in the US.
Yeah, what have they been up to?
Oh, well, I mean, American politics is never more than a couple of years away from where the rest of the world ends up, and the thing that's been kind of concerning is how many very, very openly the election is rigged, Trump should still be president, candidates are being, put up for election, basically across the board.
And the GOP has gone from, being quite right to being extremely fashy, let's be honest.
Indeed, and, it's one of those things where, doing an insurrection and a coup has not, gone, oh, maybe we've gone too far. They've actively gone, actually, that was quite effective. If we put more people in power who will deny the results of an election, maybe we'll succeed next time. And I've been thinking about it because, it's inevitable that this is going to start spreading to other places in the world because American politics is a tone setter for global politics, unfortunately. And, all I really was thinking about is the fact that it is really fucking important to vote, because I know a lot of people on the left have been very disenfranchised by politics as of late, and not really having proper left-wing options and things like that.
Yeah, certainly in the UK, at least, our major left-wing party has been fighting to get the left-wingers out of the party, and now we don't really have anyone quite on that side, and it's difficult to know who to vote for, and at the same time thinking, should I be maybe trying to vote strategically to get the worst people out, and then find myself left with some still quite bad people actually, and.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the thing that's important, I think it's important to vote. It is complicating to choose how to vote, and that's a whole other topic for whether you vote with the party that's likely to pass or the one that you actually align with most. But just go and vote, because the other side, the right wing, is really, really good at mobilizing people to vote, and very specifically, right now, has found a really, really strong motivational tool to get their side voting, which is telling them that the elections are being stolen from them, and they have to overwhelm that system with votes in their favour. They are going to show up in numbers, and turning up and voting for not fascist parties isn't going to fix it. It's not going to prevent those parties and their followers alleging that the votes were stolen from them or whatever. But what it will do is it will minimise the chance that they walk through and get elected purely because they were better at mobilising their audience with fear.
Yeah.
At the very least, beat them in the votes, fair and square, by showing up, so that when they try and pull that bullshit, you have facts on your side. It is better than letting them fucking these types walk in.
Yeah, absolutely. We are living in frightening times, and as difficult as it is to face the politics news every day, it is important that we do what little we can to try and stop everything sliding into absolute fascism at the moment. So, whatever you can do to, keep things going and try and tip the balance in our favour as much as possible. Yes, absolutely, we do need to change the whole system. But I don't know if we can necessarily do that in this election cycle. So, get together, think about these things, work hard, and until then we have to just do whatever we can to make the best of things and vote in the way we think will help the most disenfranchised and most hard up in society.
Indeed.
Oh wait.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good hug, mate. Good hug. Right, I think I'm going to pop the kettle on.
Oh, sounds like a plan.
Nice.
So Laura, tell us about book.
Book? I do many of them. The uncomfortable labels, things I learned from Mario's butt, gender euphoria, me and my dysphoria monster. We did a book together.
It's called Who Hunts the Whale.
Yeah.
It's available at unbound.com/book/whale.
To pre-order because it's coming out February 16th.
Yeah, that's so close now.
It's getting ever closer.
It's just over 3 months.
Yep, it'll be here before you know it, and suddenly there'll be a book in your hands.
There'll be a book in my hand.
And you
I'll
go,
be like,
"Oh shit, I made this."
I finally wrote a book. Ah!
I mean, you already did, but it'll feel more real once you got it in your hand.
Yeah. It'll be the first non-digital version of the book I've read.
Yay!
But exciting. And it's a silly and serious satirical book about the world of the video game industry and how bleak and dark that can be, but also trying to do the good things.
Yeah.
And coffee. There's a lot of coffee.
There's a lot of coffee.
Where can we find you upon the internet? Tell us all of the places.
It's just Laura K. Buzz, pretty much everywhere. If there's a service, you probably find me at Laura K. Buzz on it.
Including Mastodon.
Apparently Mastodon. Look, I'm not bailing on Twitter yet. It is what it is, but Laura K. Buzz at tech.lgbt, I believe, is my Mastodon. If you want to go follow me there, if that's a place that you happen to be using.
Yeah.
I'll post links and stuff there, and
Yeah.
you can join the about 500 people already that are following me on there, despite having barely used
Signed up
it.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm over there too. In the same instance, I'm Janiac tech.lgbt / @Janiac.
We're learning. We're learning a new thing.
Yeah, we're learning to toot.
We're learning to toot and retoot.
Yes, and boost.
Yeah, initially I wasn't sure about toots as a term, but the more it happens, I think, yeah, I'm gonna do a toot.
We're gonna do a toot. Yeah, and you can hang out over there. I can be found. All of my links, including that one, can be found at Linktree /Janiac. Linktree.ee/Janiac. JANEIAC. And I've got a Patreon. That's the one that pays my bills. For as little as $1 a month, you can help me justify all the overworking I do and the complete burnout most of the time. To help me support my terrible life choices. For your entertainment, though, that's the important thing. I am here to entertain and make happy. That's just about everything I want to talk about. So, Laura, will you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.